today it's an important webinar for us because the subject of this webinar is extremely important in EU member states and in all partner countries of the EU. The subject of today is about the digitalization, the digital transition, and especially we will be looking into how digitalization is changing the skills needs in the countries where we all work. And of course, we will also look at the provision side, so how digitalization is changing the way we learn. Sorry, I forgot to put it in silent. So we keep receiving in ETF requests every single day about the impact of digitalization, how the labor market is changing. Lately, in the past few months, how ChatGPT is changing the way in which we work. And to be fully honest with you, we don't have all of the answers. No one has. All of us, we are working to try to understand a little bit of what is happening. But of course, the speed of the change is incredible. I've read several articles where scientists say that the speed of digitalization from now until 2030 will make more changes than all the changes that we got in the 20th century, so in the past 120 years. So I think it's really highly unpredictable. The way where the world where we are going is highly unpredictable, but there are also elements that we can assess today. And of course, this type of information are essential because we have, as policymakers, as researchers, to provide this kind of information to education, training, and employment authority to allow them somehow to fill this gap. The gap will be there anyhow, because it's clear that the change is so fast that it's almost impossible to keep pace and to really follow. But this gap can be somehow minimized, and that's what we are trying to do. So the agenda of today, as I mentioned in the beginning, is extremely rich. We will start with a presentation from my colleague from ETF, Mircea Vadescu and Eva Jansova, which will present the first findings of the European Skills and Job Survey that was carried out in 5 countries in the Western Balkans and Israel in 2022-2023. The results are extremely fresh, so it's really somehow fresh from the press, and we decided to share these immediately. I really thank Mircea and Eva for sharing and coming today to share with us these preliminary findings. You will see there are really breakthrough results coming up from the implementation of the survey, so I'm very much looking forward to it. Then we will have 2 rounds of intervention, presentation by members of the Skills Lab network of experts. I have to say that for this topic, we really got a lot of volunteers. We selected this presentation, but there is a lot of work carried out in the research community on this topic. So we will hear first Talent Sultanov from the Internet Society Kyrgyzstan chapter, and also Branka Angelovic from the Public Policy Research Center in Serbia. We will also have like a moment to ask a question to Branka and to Talent. And then we will have a second round of presentation where we will focus more into digital competencies and online learning environment. And we will have the pleasure to discuss and hear the presentation from Natia Anguladze. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, from Georgia, Michel Peters from the Open University of Catalonia, and Ilgar Zarbaliev that will talk about innovative learning pathway to develop data literacy. So as you see, it's extremely rich, and we kept the good habit of having half an hour networking session at the end of this presentation, where we really encourage you to stay with us, and we will exchange in an informal way about the research that you are conducting on the topic. One piece of information, very operational, please put your questions in the chat as the speakers will make their presentation. As I mentioned, we will have a moment for question and answer as well. So without further ado, because I really don't want to take the space of my colleagues and the members of the network who have more important things to say and to share, I give the floor to Mircea and Eva to start with the first presentation of the findings of the European Skills and Job Survey. Mircea, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Francesca. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. We will, together with my colleague Eva, we will try to take you into the wonderful world of digitalization and digital transition. As Francesca said, these are extremely fresh and extremely interesting results. In the past 2 months, I gave this presentation already 4 times or 3 times, I can't remember, and I'll take a break in August, and then I'll start from September onwards. With the national events. So far they are scheduled to last at least until November. So it's indeed a very interesting topic, and we have very interesting results from this survey. So today's presentation is about digitalization and digital transition, as I said, and it takes quite some time to give it all together. There are about 30 slides, so I'll probably stop after 25 minutes so that we don't take too much time from the other. It's rather technical, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. And then we have also a publication which will come out very soon, probably after the summer. It's practically a twin product of the slides. So we have slides and the publication. So we'll probably have it ready for the meeting in October. What we will show today are we will try to show how we frame the digitalization, how is it measured, and also the first findings, as I said, on the digital transition based on comparable data. We will try to frame the impact of the pandemic, the use to map the use of different types of digital technology, and reflect also on their implications. The information is based on a survey which we have conducted together with CEDEFOP. CEDEFOP is our sister agency in Thessaloniki. It's basically their questionnaire and their methodology. We just implemented in 5 countries from the Western Balkans plus Israel. So we have 6 countries, and that will make 35 countries altogether together with CEDEFOP. There were about 50,000 adult employees and surveyed, and Eva will come back later on the methodology. The survey is extremely powerful when it comes to measuring the digitalization, and not only the digitalization. We only work so far in ETF on skills mismatch. I'm not sure you have seen the results so far, but on all the other things, the job skills requirement, digitalization, we haven't worked so far, workplace learning. So it's indeed a very great opportunity for us. The survey is extremely relevant for the EU policy agenda. Those who are less familiar with this, it encompasses 3 frameworks: the EU skills agenda, the EU digital strategy, and the European education area, which are the main frameworks when it comes to education and training. And as I said, we conducted in 6 countries. We hope to be able to field it in 3 more countries. We don't know exactly when. It depends on many factors. And this is what we want to try. What we try to find out. So actually, we want to find out what are the skills needs in the jobs, and how the skills, how the employers, the employees possess the skills, and how they are matched with whatever the employers ask in terms of skills required, and then what type of mismatch they face. And there are 5 types of mismatch. 2 are tackled here, but there's a lot of interesting work going on the skills gaps, which is also a type of mismatch. And most importantly, how the employees see the working organizational changes introduced or triggered by the pandemic in our partner countries, and what is the organizational work, and how does the jobs of today looks like? Are they learning intensive? Are they routine jobs? Are they autonomous, and things like that? In a nutshell, this is the survey. We are talking about a standalone skill survey, self-reporting types of survey. You know, there are 3 levels of surveys today. So you have proxy surveys like labor force survey, which are not very helpful when it comes to skills. Then you have the standalone surveys like this one, but also PISA. Then you have a second level of distinction between whether they are self-reporting, whether they assess skills self-reporting, or whether they are the skills are assessed directly. The direct assessment of skills are, for instance, assessed in surveys like PIAC or PISA. This is self-reporting type of survey, and then the mode of the survey, the way the survey is implemented, we use computer assisting personal interviews, so face-to-face in most of the countries, all the Western Balkans, and we use computer assisted web interviews based on a panel in Israel. There are 4 blocks of questions. Let me see if I can use so this is something that you can see in all the surveys, the social demographic information. This is the job-related information. Again, is very common in most of the surveys. These are the 4 blocks. So we will speak together only on the digitalization, but there's work ongoing on skills mismatch, also on workplace learning. And this is the most important part of the survey because it's the third. You know that the skills are in the literature they are distinguished between based on 3 criteria. So the 3 drivers of the skills in the literature are the minimum education required, job-related training required, and the nature of job. This is less investigated. It was less investigated so far before this survey, and it's extremely important because it gives you information about the actual what we missed so far. We knew the job, the education from the LFS, for instance, the minimum education, and also the training from other surveys, but we didn't have so far any information on these. This is where the main publication, the main presentation today starts. So we will try to look at all these topics. They replicate the topics in the paper, in the working paper. So they're exactly the same in the paper. So you will have also the chance to read more about this. And let's say that we started from the fact that evidence-based insights for the digitalization is extremely important for the policymakers, and especially on the fact that so far in the future of work debates, there were only negative consequences of using robots and machine algorithms, and the headlines so far were, okay, the robots will take your job, or you will be replaced by the robots and things like that. Which is not actually true, because in both member states and in our partner countries, what we see now is that the digital technology automates part of an occupation. It takes part of the tasks, but very rarely entire jobs and occupations. And I think this is the main message that we try to give in 35 countries, 50,000 employees. And we also try to let's say, say that digital technology, the digitalization and the digital transition is like the Janus with 2 faces. It's like it can be a disruptor, but also on the innovator. And actually, you'll see that in the whole presentation, it brings, if I may say so, good and bad things. It increases the inequalities. It works a lot on the training of the adults. So it's not that it only brings benefits, and this is another important message from our work. This is a kind of overview of what we have found in terms of digital transition in the Western Balkans. Benchmark with the European Union, because this is the policy framework in our work. And I will come back to these topics quite quickly in the following slides. This is an infographic that we have prepared. So first of all, the next 10 slides will look like this one. So I will have a title here, a title. And then I will have how we frame, what was the question in the questionnaire. Then the numbers I plotted. Then an extras if I need some help with an extra information, and then the findings and the message. Okay, so what we have found on the remote work, first of all, that there were a lot of inequalities. So what the pandemic has brought was not only the good things, those who used to work before remotely continue to work like this. So, for instance, if you see the computer programmers, half of them work from home. It's 1 in 2. Only 1 in 5 in the elementary occupation could work from home because the jobs were not designed to be. Most of the jobs are not designed for the remote work. Those with a high level of education, these are tertiary grade, obviously 1/3 of them work from home or could work from home, as opposed to only 1 in 4 for the lower education level. And this is something very interesting from education, which I just got the numbers now. You'll see that, for instance, the teachers, even in the second year of the pandemic, we are speaking about 2022, sorry. And in the second year of the pandemic, even after the pandemic, let's say, started to decrease in terms of intensity, very few of them work from home at the same level as for instance, the nurses. Okay, so 90% of the nurses could work from home in 2022, and the same proportion in education. It shows a bit of a resilience of the teachers, which is a good thing, I would say. But on the other hand, it means that in the future, some of the professions will not be so to say prone to be let's say offered from home, and this is perhaps something which needs to be further investigated. On the digital upskilling, so what we have measured, we said, okay, during the pandemic there were many changes in the methods of work, in the way the management started to interfere with the workers, in the way that perhaps some companies had to move the production outside. But we are interested here outside the country. So what we're interested here is in the new digital technologies which were introduced at the workplace. And here you have quite a diverse picture. So indeed, there were some new technologies, new digital technologies introduced at the workplace, okay, up to the point of 40% in Israel, so on average in the Balkans, 27%. But then when it comes to the way the employees have learned to use the new technologies introduced, we have quite I would say a confirmation of the fact that digital upskilling, which is what we measure, is not already there at least in the Balkans. Is there in Israel at the same level as the European Union, but for instance, Finland, it's about 60%, so it's twice the average of the European Union. So what we conclude is that the new technologies that were introduced, yes, they were there. They didn't bring a substantial change or the tangible change in the jobs, and they were not trigger what we expect to see, upskilling or reskilling. It's about 1 in 6 employees, again, adults employees, so that means people in salary employment that were digitally upskilled, which is very few compared to the needs. There's also what we also found is it's quite a low digitalization in the EU. So what you knew so far, the common beliefs about computers and use of internet, is here on the left side of the graph. Indeed, perhaps 60% in the Balkans, they use the internet at work. But when it comes, for instance, to coding, there's only 7% of them who does advanced digital upskilling and use of digital technology.
Mircea, sorry for interrupting. 10 more minutes, please.
Yes, I'll go quickly through this. This is the compute price machine again. This is an index which we will calculate also for our countries. It was calculated for Celepom. So let's spend some time here a bit. It's if you see this, for instance, you will see that about 43% of the workers, these are EU plus or EU member states plus Norway and Iceland, they either are not user or they're low users of information. So what a low user means in terms of digital skills. So 20% of them, only 20% of them use the internet. About 1/3 use the word editors. If we move to medium, they move indeed to specialized software and they prepare more presentation at work, but the use of digital technologies remain very, very limited. And then only 16% they are what we call upskilled users of digital technologies. They program, they code, they do all the things. This is Israel. I'm sorry, I have to skip. It's exactly the same information, but you see that the levels they are much higher than in the Balkans, much higher than even in, much higher than the EU average. So it's quite they're quite let's say more digitalized than the Balkans. If you ever heard of the European Skills Agenda, this is a kind of picture of the European Skills Agenda in which what we try to do is to show, okay, who are let's say who should be trained, for instance, and in what. So what we need, the survey introduced the learning potential. So what we discussed, what we found here in the survey is that about half of the Western Balkans 5 countries employees have a learning potential. It means that they need to be reskilled or they need to be upskilled. And in what? In most of them as expected in the computer and ICT skills, some of them in social skills, some in numeracy. The learning potential is a concept which was introduced by the survey. It's extremely advanced and it allows to be used in the policy work. So if you read, when you will read the paper, you'll get more information. If we move to the other policy framework, the European Digital Agenda, what we see there is, again, if we look only at the computer and ICT skills, those those who are trained, actually 2/3 of them are those who are already skilled. Okay, whereas if you look at those who should be trained, you see that a large proportion of them, up to half of them, they don't get any training at all, and that's a finding which is quite important, because you see that those who are, for instance, in Kosovo, you have 2/3 of the employees who need to be trained, and for which you need to design training programs, because they have a training need there which is not met. And this is despite the fact that you saw the digital demands in the previous slides. There is still a learning potential, and there is still a learning potential, especially for those high skills. So if you want, for those who don't need necessarily the training. Okay. These are the patterns for the training. So they're quite different than what you see in the labor force survey. And have even 50 points higher. Usually is below 1 in most of the Western Balkan countries. That's because we trim. That's because we do. If you want brain surgery, that's because we only ask about task-based approach. So do you read? Do you write? Do you do something like this at work? And if we look also on the training needs of those who need the computer and IT skills for the job and need to be trained, there are indeed only 1/3 of them. So if you look, for instance, at all the Western Balkans, they are above the 40%. So they are above at the level of the lowest in the European Union. Okay, except Israel, for which the training is even higher than the EU average. So here again, the policies that need to be introduced for training are extremely important, and for them we need to find solutions. The digital transition, and that's the last slide about to be shown. It's what we measured. We measured the job insecurity. Half of them declared that they are afraid that they will lose the job in the next 12 months. That survey was filled in 22-23, sorry. So it means that by this time, some of them might have been already fired, because the fear came from what they felt. So you see a percentage here of those who said, "Okay, I'm going to lose my job," because there will be robots doing my job. Okay, so they felt like this. What we did after was to ask them, okay, you will lose your job because you don't have the skills. And there they said, okay, most of them, they were aware of the changes. That is not that they did something, but also the fact that the job insecurity was quite uniform. So those holding routine jobs were more affected of this, more pronounced, whereas, for instance, the programmers said no. And I think I'm going to lose my job. When we ask them, okay, do you feel that you're going to lose the job because you lack the new digital skills? Each country got at least 7 points up. Okay, to the point that, for instance, in the Balkan, what was 27 here is 35%, and in the European Union, it's almost half. So yes, they fear about losing the job. They fear that they don't have the skills to cope with their new jobs. Do they train? Not really, and not always, and not all of them. So the inequality is still there. I'm going to skip about this. The challenge is what we see as a challenge now is that we see an increase of the work routinization and the job insecurity. And there were some, especially for some workers, some forms of the digital technologies. So those in manual routine occupations, because they don't take training, because they are not sure what to do, they are likely to suffer from the digital transition. There are also those who are afraid more. Those in non-routine jobs, they are afraid less. The non-user, on the other hand, they are oblivious to automation risks. They believe that if my job will be digitalized, there will be only few improvements, only small improvement, speed, quality, so not nothing interesting or nothing essential. Whereas in the EU, it's even worse because almost half of them, they believe that something will happen because they will lose the job or they don't have the skills to do the job.
Sorry for interrupting, Mircea. 3 more minutes, please.
Yes, I have only one slide, but no worry. The skills underutilization is usually linked to less digitalization at work, and those who are non-exposed to digitalization are less willing to adopt the digital innovation. That's also another interesting finding. When it comes to policy pointers, so what has happened in 4 steps, if you want? The economies were more resilient because of the digitalization. If you want, the digitalization has helped to have labor market resilience more than it was expected. No, there was not the end of the world. It was, as it was announced, with COVID, mainly because of the digitalization. We could continue doing like this today to do our jobs. On the other hand, there were increasingly size gaps of the worker because there's a modest digital training and the low skill. Those who should get the training, they don't get the training, obviously. If you work in a low skilled job, you are likely to suffer more. And in fact, what we noticed in the Balkans, for instance, is that half of the employees they read less than 1 page a day or whenever they were asked, and they write less than 1 page, and they use basic math. And this increase the potential disruption of the new world, if you want, because the skills are completely inappropriate, or the level of skills are completely inappropriate in terms of utilization. And this is happening also in the EU member states. Whether it will be a revolution, a skills revolution or not, this we'll have to see. For instance, what we see so far, as I said, there were not so many dramatic changes. There were not only 7% of employees use the robots, for instance. So we don't see that in our numbers. Okay, I'll stop here. Sorry for being too late, and I'll leave the floor to Eva. I'll move the slides.
Yes, I will just spend a couple of minutes just on the methodology and the measurement so that you also know what this survey offers and what can be also explored further. So as Mircea already said, we aimed here for national representative surveys of adults, adult employees that are aged 25 to 64. So we are looking just at some part of the employed population. This is important also for the interpretation of the results. In Western Balkan economies, we use the multi-stage cluster sample and face-to-face interviews, while in Israel, we use the online panel. So there is also differences in the approach used to be taken into account. And we have more or less about 1,000 respondents per country that is included in the sample, with the fieldwork that took place at the end of last year, beginning of this year. So we also used, of course, the CEDEFOP methodology, which allows us then to compare also the results to the EU countries, although, of course, the time of the fieldwork is different. So a few things on the measurement, just 2 slides. So I would ask Mircea to move the next slide. Today we focus on the digitalization, digital transition. So we looked at, let's say, the digital skills, but this survey also allows us to explore other types of job skill requirements, such as the cognitive, so literacy, numeracy, but also the manual tasks and the interpersonal, covering, for example, problem solving, creativity, teamwork, and so on. What is important that the measurement focuses on task-based approach. So we are asking the respondents, the employees, what they did actually in their work, starting from, let's say, more simple to more complex tasks. And that applies, for example, to the digital sphere, asking about the usage of the digital devices for example, internet browsing, but also then more complex tasks such as programming or usage of the specific softwares. You also saw that we looked at the incidence of digitalization and impact on automation. There are basically specific questions on the changes at the workplace, but also the digital upskilling, focusing on the learning new computer programs and software and the computerized machinery. And what is also possible through the survey is to understand the impact on the task. So we know from the employees, from the respondents, whether this digital upskilling had impact on the content of the job task, whether there are new and different tasks that they are currently engaged with. And that's the case for the majority of such workers. And then I would move to the last slide. So what else, the next, what else can the survey also show us? So one more. And that's those are the, let's say, the elements that will be covered in the analysis that we continue doing and we will do in the next months. And that's the focus, for example, focus on the skills mismatch. So through the survey, we can measure the vertical horizontal mismatch. So the level of education that the workers, the employees have, and vis-a-vis the level of education that is required to the job that they are doing. Yeah, we can also measure the horizontal mismatch. So looking at the main subject of field of study that the workers have and how relevant it is for doing their specific jobs. We are also looking, or we can look at the skills utilization, which was also shown by Mircea, and the specific skills gaps. So here, as already shown, we are looking at 4 specific sets of skills, technical or job-specific, computer, social, numeracy skills. So there is a potential for further analysis. There are many different questions that we can explore through the survey, and this is just the start. So I would stop here.
Thank you.
Eva. That was really quick. That's all from us. It's a bit frustrating, I know. I'm really sorry because I probably need at least 10 minutes more. It's usually a 40 minutes presentation. I think I've got 20, 25.
We are entering into the Q&A session.
Yes. I know. I just
Thank
wanted to show to tell that this is only a package, the presentation, and then you'll get the publication sometimes after the summer. So thank you for your attention. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Okay, thank you, Mircea. Thank you, Eva. In the chat box, we got one question and some comments. I will just Yarden, one question I will just ask about. One question from Yarden Kedar. He is asking if the data of both rounds of the survey open for further research.
Yes, at the end of this presentation, I will get a link to where our data will be placed, because this is CEDEFOP did two rounds for the member states, one in 14 and one now. And so you will have a link to both rounds from CEDEFOP and the first round from us. We will not plan to release the data for obvious reasons before end of 24, beginning of 25. And there will be a unique place where you can find the data, both the raw data, the micro data, and also the aggregated data. And we will send you the link with the documentation. But yes, they will be open for the researchers. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. for clarification. Just some quick comments from the colleagues, from the participant. I will just go through. Mitch Peters, he's saying that in education, it would like to be highly biased toward higher education. While Nerko Jugo says that most of the jobs in Balkans are in public sector. According to our reality, those jobs will stay and remain the most wanted. That's why we have a low percentage among job holders scared of losing it due to the digitalization. That Radion was asking whether digitalization doesn't affect public sector in Balkans, and I think the participants already replied, it does, of course, but not in a way to worry anyone in potential job reduction. Maybe you colleagues have some thoughts about that as well.
I think there's an emphasis on the Balkans, obviously, because there are 5 countries there. I think that the target population of the survey, the employees, adult employees, will allow us to infer more in terms of what categories of the workers have been impacted more by digitalization. You mentioned the public sector. I'm not sure about that, because there's a lot also from the private sector. I think you should expect us a little bit to give us a little bit more time to come with new findings, because now it has been quite intensive. Both we are in the dissemination phase, so we only want to do the dissemination, the analytical. The day has only 24 hours, so we will come with the analytical part in the coming months, starting from next year. This year it's only for the dissemination. We have national events. So there will be more coming. For the time being, what we saw is what you saw today. We didn't dig a lot into the data so that we are able to say, yeah, public sectors employees are more affected than the others. Maybe Eva wants to add.
Yeah, I would add that we see from the data that also the employees from the public sector are affected by the changes. And also they are actually exposed to also learning or training in the digital skills. So it's not only the question of, for example, the sector of services or industry, but also we can see such changes in the public sector. In some countries less, and in some countries more, of course. But we can provide then also the specific data later on.
Thank you, colleagues, one more time. Let's move to the first round, where some colleagues from the network area or network countries of ETF will present their studies, their presentation. So first, I will give the floor to Talant Sultanov from the Internet Society Kyrgyzstan chapter, who will talk about Sanarip Insan project. Sanarip Insan translated as digital man, a digital person. So this project is funded by EU, and it's about improving digital literacy and building digital skills. So Talant, floor is yours. After Talant, I will give a floor to Branka Angelkovic, and then we can slowly go to the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Baktit. You already summarized my presentation, but there are more details that I could share. So let me share my screen first. And Baktit, could you let me know when you see it? Yeah, because I think there is some delay sometimes.
Yeah, we see your presentation.
Excellent. Yeah. So I called my presentation "Closing the Digital Skills Divide in Rural Kyrgyzstan," based on the experience of this Sanarip Insan project that we are implementing with the support of the European Union. And before I start my presentation, I wanted to do a quick quiz, one question only. Who has 50% more YouTube views? And the 50% means 10 billion views more on YouTube than BTS. And while you think, I'll explain why I have this question. So you probably know BTS. It's one of the leading musical bands, boy bands in the world from Korea. And Korea is one of the leading digital nations in the world. And BTS is like one of the kind of cases of how digital economy can help countries grow. And Kyrgyzstan is, of course, looking at Korea, Estonia, other countries as examples. And that's why I wanted to bring up this question. So let me then move to the response. So BTS has about $20 billion views. There is another Korean band, a girl band, Blackpink. They have 50% more views, girl power. And there is another answer. There is a group, a small team called D-Billions, and they are actually coming from Kyrgyzstan. And they have 31 billion views on YouTube. It's a kids cartoons. And this is an example of how if you have the right digital skills, the right digital creative skills, you can shoot into the stardom and become one of the global leaders. And of course, not everyone in Kyrgyzstan and Central Asia can reach these heights. And we would like to help and bring such opportunities for the citizens of Central Asia. And when we speak about our region, just a brief background, it's a very difficult region in terms of digital connectivity because it's a landlocked, it's the most landlocked region in the world. One of our countries is double landlocked. It's one of two countries in the world which is double landlocked, Uzbekistan. We're also mountainous, we have very harsh climate. That means that bringing digital connectivity is really slow and expensive. Plus, on top of that, the geopolitics made it that we are also now sanctions locked. Where are sanctions locked from the north, from the south, from the east, from the west. So this is not making things easy for Central Asia. And what it means in terms of digitalization, this is a chart, how much time it takes for Central Asian countries to download a movie. And we can see Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, they are in 146th place out of 220. And we can see Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan is on 219th place. So a very difficult region in terms of digital connectivity. But not everything is doom and gloom. There are also opportunities. Actually, many people say that we should not think of ourselves as landlocked, but we should think of ourselves as land-linked. And the countries, with the support of development organizations, are trying to connect the region into global digital connectivity. For example, World Bank has the Digital Central Asia, South Asia program, which is trying to do exactly this, connect Central Asia to major internet hubs around the world. And there is one book which I would really recommend you to read if you are interested about Central Asia. It's a book by Dr. Fred Starr called The Lost Enlightenment. And if you read this book, you will think that everything originated in Central Asia, science, music, culture. But one thing there is, I think, is very much relevant to us. For example, earlier in the session, we talked about AI. and machine learning, which is all based on algorithms. And this word actually originates from Central Asia. The algorithm was invented by a scholar who lived in a city called Khwarezm, and his last name was Al-Khwarizmi, and that gives the name for algorithms. So the question is, can we now rediscover it in Central Asia and be one of the global centers of digitalization again? And I believe we can, if we follow these following steps to close the digital skills divide. And I have a few steps which I will elaborate in more detail. First of all, we need to identify the problem. There is a global initiative of UNICEF and ITU called GIGA, with the goal of connecting all the schools of the world to the internet. And if we look at the Kyrgyzstan's case, out of 2,000 something schools, many of them are connected, but not so well, and many are still not connected. And we at the Internet Society decided to find these unconnected schools and connect them to the internet if we can, and if we cannot, to bring digital content and digital knowledge to them. So one thing we did was Elim Box offline digital library. It's a very small box, you can see in the center picture, which can work from a power plug, and you don't need to have internet. You will have access to all the knowledge which is stored there. However, many of these villages even didn't have electricity to make these Elim boxes work. So we brought also small solar panels to connect, to power these devices. Next step, we decided we need to connect these villages to the real internet, because Elim box is not enough. And we launched these community networks initiatives where we connect the villages to the internet with the help of the local communities. The communities own this internet infrastructure. And of course, this is not a very easy job. Some of these places have no electricity, so we had to carry solar panels. Some of the places are very high in the mountains. Cars cannot get there. So it was a really interesting experience. In addition to that, once you have the internet, we realized that not many people have the necessary devices to use the internet. So we made a call to people, can you contribute your notebooks, your smartphones, which we will bring to the children in these villages. And for example, in this case, a member of the National Academy of Sciences donated her smartphone, which we brought to the girl in the village of Zardali. And our hope that this girl grows up and becomes a National Academy of Science member like this lady. The next, so the internet connectivity, hopefully we'll resolve it. Devices, hopefully we'll resolve it. Next, what we found out, there is not much relevant content on the internet if you don't speak one of the UN languages. If you don't speak English or other languages, then, or if you speak Kyrgyz, which is a nation of 7 million people, very little educational content there. So we started to work on creating educational content, and our Elim box evolved into Elim box 2.0 online educational portal, free portal in Kyrgyz language, where students, teachers, children of labor migrants outside of the country can study all the school lessons online. And we also made a lot of effort adopting global knowledge into Kyrgyz language. So for example, here, science experiments in biology, physics, everything we translated into Kyrgyz language and made them available free on YouTube. The next thing, so internet connectivity, devices, content. Next step was digital literacy. Can people actually use, do they actually have the skills to take advantage of all these opportunities that internet can bring? And we launched this project where we would do trainings in rural areas and teach girls, youth, returning labor migrants, basic digital skills, so that using their smartphones, they can sell, market their products. Use like in the next slide, we can show that we focused on e-tourism, on e-commerce, on e-agriculture, skills that rural communities need and where they can benefit from digitalization. Again, using the global best practice, GSMA developed really cool mobile internet skills toolbox, which is available in English and in 60 other languages of the world, but it wasn't available in Kyrgyz and it wasn't available in Russian, which is still a language, lingua franca for Central Asia, former Soviet Union. So we translated these materials into Kyrgyz language and Russian language, and now we are going to start distributing this online and in print format to the users.
Sorry, Talant, 2 more minutes.
Excellent. I have actually 2 more slides. Finally, once you bring many people online, especially rural communities, we feel that we are responsible for their safety and security because they are, let's say, very trustful of the internet. But there are good things and bad things. So one more thing, what we're doing is cybersecurity and digital hygiene for civil society and citizens. I think it's very important. And finally, wherever we work, we want to make sure that we do not harm the environment. We actually want to help preserve the environment. So climate resilience, helping preserve snow leopard or monitoring climate in rural communities is another very big thing that we are doing in terms of digitalization. And to sum up, this is my last slide. These are 5 maybe principles that we're using in our work. 1, girls first. Any activities we design, we want them to be useful and convenient for the girls, especially in rural communities. 2, rural first. In the city, there are many opportunities, but if you go to the villages, there are very few opportunities in terms of digital skills. So we are focusing on rural. 3rd is mobile first. Very few people have laptops or other devices, but smartphones, many people do have them. So we are doing all of our work based on mobiles. Local language first. So our work is focused actually in Kyrgyz language, and we are hoping to expand into Uzbek, Tajik, Kazakh. And finally, green first. Do not damage the environment, but actually help the environment with the digital tools. So back to you. I'd like to conclude with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Talant. What I would do, I guess, give a floor to our another colleague, the Branka Angelkovic, and then we will go to the Q&A session at the end. So I'm giving a floor to Branka Angelkovic with the presentation from Serbia, Bridging the Gap, the vital blend of technical and soft skills for international success.
Thank you, Vakit. Greetings from Belgrade. This presentation is actually looking into the skills that are needed for international success of startups from Serbia. We can move to the next slide, please. This work, in a way, Gabrielle, thank you. Yeah. So this work is, in a way, an intentional product of a research that I will explain later. But let me just first introduce a little bit the startup scene from Serbia so that you know what are we talking about. So the Serbian startup ecosystem is really in its development stage in this kind of field known as the activation phase. Nevertheless, the scene has a huge ambition and lately has been attracting a lot of attention from different kinds of domains and stakeholders. Starting with local government, meaning national government of Serbia, business community, research community, international community, and so on and so forth. In the last couple of years, there has been an increase in funding of startups from Serbia, and 2022 was really a record year when it comes to this kind of investment. As you can see, it was almost 100 million euros invested in Serbian startup ecosystem by the World Bank and the EU. We usually quote Genome Startup Report as an important source for understanding the startup scene, not only locally, but also globally. And according to this report, three most interesting domains that have the highest potential for scaling up are actually the blockchain, gaming, and life sciences, which translates into biotech in short. You can also see on your right side and above in which domains Serbian startups have been active and have been having, let's say, important solutions. And this is enterprise solutions, AI, big data and analysis. And then you have at the third place some groupings of startups active in Serbia, which is gaming, smart city, blockchain, and crypto. For you who are not so familiar with startup professions or occupations or domains, this is actually all different. So why this topic became important for our research? You will see now that in 2020, Serbian startup scene was receiving more and more attention, and USAID decided to invest in identification of domains in Serbia that have a highest potential for scaling up and innovation. In translation, that means that we were looking into a combination of traditional sectors and digital talents. Let's put it this way. We carried out this research in 2021. There was numerous interviews carried out with different stakeholders. We combined 5 helix model. I'm not going to spend time on this, but you can already understand which kind of stakeholders we engaged. And we also applied a quantitative survey that included 408 respondents. In continuation, in 2022, we did another survey that was looking into something completely different, and this is data privacy laws and the importance of these regulation for startups from Serbia that aim to scale to the US and EU markets. Here again, we carried out a number of interviews, and we also had a qualitative survey that helped us out in identifying key points. So as you can see from the framework that I presented, we were not really looking into answers that we received. We were looking in all different kinds of dimensions, networking, hybridization, spillover effect. We were looking also into economic and social impacts of the domains that we've been aiming to identify. So all these quotes and then identification of skills that I'm going to present came as a result of coding that we did on our interviews and qualitative survey. In a way, we were surprised to see that our startups that of course are in most cases digital startups, so relying on data or AI, the pricing actually a combination of soft and business skills. And I can read some of the quotes here, or you can do it yourself, but I will maybe start with the first one. And this company is now a company that is one of the leading software companies at the 500 Fortune list. The CEO lives in US at this point of time, and it is also one of the very famous business angels in Serbia. And he also managed to bring a number of VC funds also to Serbia. So what he said in this interview was the following. Creating a groundbreaking product was just the start of my journey. For I soon discovered that true success lies in mastering the art of selling. Recognizing this pivotal truth, I dedicated myself to understanding business strategies and sales tactics, becoming a trailblazer in the field. And this actually paved my way to the ranks of Fortune 500 companies. So we were getting lots of insights of similar kind from all the interviews that we carried out. And this in a way was puzzling to us because we know the Serbian startup scene is really technically skilled. And we believed that people who have this kind of talent would also understand that they would need to have so-called soft or business support talents to succeed on international markets. And now we can move back to the previous slide. So these findings that were just really some of findings from tool research helped us out in identifying two streams of skills that are needed for international success of startups from Serbia. On your right side, you see business support skills. We understand that the language skills are really crucial for making breakthrough at any kind of foreign market, but it is not only that you speak language of a decent proficient level. What we also realized through our research is a necessity to speak a language that is business oriented and that is also delving into the topic of a startup community that this startup is actually attacking. Digital marketing and branding skills were also often highlighted as very important to showcase the value of the product that startups have to show and are willing actually to share with their counterparts and especially with funders.
Branka, sorry, 2 more minutes.
Okay, this is almost the end. Market research and analysis, managing talent acquisition, and so on and so forth, with other business support skills that we really found as very important. Nevertheless, on the other side, on your left side, you can see that soft skills were also often mentioned, but not in the way that we structure them. Our startups were identifying the skills like a cross-cultural competency or understanding the context in which you aim to make your business thrive. Negotiation and communication was also very often underlined as an important skill for making success wherever it is. And finally, but this is not really the last point, networking turned to be an important skill that many mentioned for realizing their business potential in different markets. In conclusion, and this is the last slide, we understand, and I think that Serbian startups also understand that technical skills are really important in developing a product. But in successful sales and promotion, business support skills and soft skills are really necessary. The problem in Serbian market is that most startups that operate here are actually really skilled in technical domains, but really lack these skills that we are now discussing here. Furthermore, it is also very hard to find professionals that they can engage in helping them out to promote the product on international markets wherever they are. In the end, and this research also pointed to the necessity of luck. Luck also plays a significant role in startup success. It is not only reaching out to funders, VC funds, having support of different kinds, but at this point of time, luck is still not recognized in any ESCO or ESCO classification. So this is still a very elusive category. Thank you very much for your attention. And now I'm open for your questions.
Thank you, Branka. Thank you very much. We are at the Q&A session, and I see some comments that appreciation for talent presentation, and pretty much no questions. And since we have some time for the next round, as a moderator, I'd like to ask some questions. And maybe Talant first. You mentioned at the end of your presentation, you mentioned about hygiene project that you are doing, cybersecurity and hygiene, and what kind of, I mean, if you could elaborate a little bit more on this hygiene project and which donors you are working with, if you highlight this also. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bakit. First of all, I'd like to compliment you on very skillful moderation and keeping us all disciplined. I really liked it. In regards to your question, we are actually working with European partners. We are very lucky to find partners in France, organization called Nothing to Hide. They help journalists across the globe kind of with cybersecurity. We approached them saying that, well, we would like to help citizens with cybersecurity because when we talk about the government has specialized agencies to do cybersecurity. Private sector can hire cybersecurity experts, but this ordinary citizens, the more we get them online, the more vulnerable they become. So passwords are very easy. Use of double-factor authentication is non-existent. So basic cyber hygiene skills is not there. And I think this actually has to come in parallel with digitalization, so that people are aware that there are not only good things online, but there are also threats. The internet is just a tool which you can use for good and for bad. And unfortunately, Kyrgyzstan is also becoming subject to all kinds of cyber attacks and hackers stealing your personal data. Giving out personal data is very easy. Actually, just recently, a lady asked me to kind of help her withdraw money from her ATM, gave me her card and PIN code. So we have to teach very basic things to people so that they will be aware and protected of the kind of, and especially I think child online protection is a big issue. And that those are also things that we are kind of trying to help. One thing I wanted to highlight is that all these trainings we are trying to do through traditional storytelling methods. So whenever we do trainings, we bring in, for example, we have a big tradition of singers who can improvise. They come and they just improvise on any topic and they pick on you. They pick on the members of the audience. So we asked one improviser to actually talk about digitalization and threats online. So it was really great show. I'll share a link with you in the chat. Thank you, Bakit.
Thank you very much, Talant. Very insightful, very interesting. If you could write the name of this company on cybersecurity, one of the participants is asking later on. Branka, the quick question for you. You mentioned about business support and soft skills that are prevailing over the technical skills. And can you tell us about the courses? Maybe some universities provide, or maybe some institutions provide the business support or courses or soft skills, soft skill courses that are maybe widely presented or maybe popular in the Balkan region or maybe in Serbia in particular.
Thank you, Bakit, for this question. Short question, short answer. No. I have no insights in these kinds of trainings, and this is one of the highest problems in Serbia and I guess also in the region. Simply, there is a lack of providers and provision of different kinds of trainings related to digital, as it was already described in previous sessions or presentations, but also when it comes to business support skills and soft skills. Simply, we are relying on our own talents, YouTube and so on and so forth. So this is the way to go if you're in this business. For startups particularly, There are a few initiatives in Serbia called Catapult, and there are some business angels that help out startups prepare for pitching locally, for gaining initial funding, and also for pitching abroad, for actually promoting their product on different markets. But this is very limited resource at this point of time and accessible to only few.
Thank you, Branka. Thank you. The reason was that I was asking was it is similar difficulties we are going through. At least there are residents of high-tech park in our country that are now thinking to focus more on the soft skills rather than technical skills. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues, and I will finalizing my moderation and give floor back to Francesca, or straight to the next moderators.
Welcome back. I'm going to moderate the second part, and we are now shifting our focus onto digital competencies and online learning environment. We had a pleasure to listen some interesting presentations from the recent research and the events that are happening, I would say, in a real sector, in a demand side. But let's listen now what's going on the supply side. And here we would have three very interesting presentations. Presentation from the Natia Andulanje from the Ilia State University in Georgia. She's going to share with us the first finding of a study on digital competencies and attitudes among teachers and students in VET. Then we will have a presentation from Mitchell Peters, University Unit of Skill Forecasting and Labor Market Analysis at the Open University of Catalonia. And finally, our colleague Ilgar Zarbaliev, an Excel workout leader, will share with us some innovative learning approach to develop digital competencies. So our first presenter is Natalia. So please, Natia, take your floor.
Hello, can you hear me well?
Yes, Natia.
Okay. The slide is okay?
Everything's fine.
Okay, thank you. Hi, greetings from Tbilisi, Georgia. In Georgia, we have recently, just in March, started building a national learning management system for vocational education and training. To build an effective online platform, we're trying to get an understanding of some understanding of its users. So I will be sharing with you some of the findings concerning digital competencies for online learning and specifically for using LMS in teaching and learning. Our study is far from complete, but hope our findings will be of some interest to the workshop participants. Oops. So the project was initiated by the Asian Development Bank and Georgia Skills Agency. We have to develop a learning management system, design 2 blended learning courses, 1 self-paced online course, and pilot the LMS in 2 vocational colleges that we were assigned to work with. Our clients have set high expectations for the platform. They envision the platform as a means for vocational students to enhance and broaden learning opportunities for them, as well as to actively engage teachers in utilizing the LMS for their instruction and training. Initially, the project team will be working with 2 colleges selected by the client. However, the ultimate goal is to extend the LMS to other colleges and ideally to the entire vocational education training system, which at this point is not very challenging because the system is quite small, only around 5,000 teachers in both public and private colleges and some 20,000 students at a given moment. For the LMS to achieve the set objectives, we must ensure that its features and surrounding support system meet the needs of both students and teachers. So we need to have some understanding of their digital skills, attitudes towards online learning. Additionally, understanding their teaching practices is essential because it enables us to align the LMS functionalities with their instructional needs. We don't want to offer something that does not align with vocational training or is too far away from what they understand as effective teaching. Moreover, we need to consider students' autonomous learning skills, as we know from theory and research in online and in distance learning. Autonomous learning skills are critical for effective engagement in learning. So, but for our project, a significant challenge lies in the fact that the vocational education and training sector in Georgia lacks the data and research. It's like a black box for us, unlike general education, where we have plenty of international and national studies, large-scale assessments, which include plenty of data on digital skills and teaching practices. We don't have basically anything on vocational education and training. So to get some sense of what we are dealing with, we started with a qualitative study. We concentrated on 2 colleges that we were assigned to. These colleges, however, are not typical colleges since they are selected as skills hubs. So they might be exemplary in some sense. We might not be able to generalize the findings to the entire system, but at this point, it is important for us to get some understanding on how to work with these particular colleges. So we conducted 30 interviews with teachers, students, administrative staff who are also teachers in the same colleges. So we asked in the interviews about their experience with online distance and technology-enhanced learning, use of online learning resources, the perceptions of online learning, and also about student and teacher digital skills and learning preferences, as well also using online tools in administration and collaboration.
Excuse me, Nadia, just to remind, 5 minutes more.
Okay. So teacher, then I will concentrate on teacher digital skills only, since this is the most critical part for our project. So the teacher digital competencies vary by field of specialization, experience with emergency remote teaching, which not all, some of the teachers have, since in that we used hybrid learning, using online learning only for so-called theoretical knowledge. So some teachers were basically not teaching throughout the entire pandemic. So no surprise there. IT teachers who obviously have advanced digital skills also actively use online courses in teaching and training and assessment. However, at least two colleges that there are no cases of these teachers creating online learning resources. The second cluster is includes teachers who have had some experience with emergency remote teaching during COVID, both also in general education schools and universities, since they teach in different institutions. Throughout the pandemic, they utilize various digital learning, digital resources, and also try and some of them develop their own learning resources, such as quizzes and tests. These are usually younger teachers within the age group of 40 and younger. The third group comprises of teachers who possess basic digital skills but might need help in stuff like saving a document on their desktop. So, but they're enthusiastic about online learning and learning about online learning. The challenge here is that teachers believe that online learning is not suitable for teaching and training in most of it areas, because that is about hands-on training and that is about directly supervised training. However, for these teachers, the idea of online learning is what they witnessed or experienced during the pandemic. So they equate online learning with emergency remote learning and all its difficulties, including technological, engaging students, etc., etc. So teachers, with an exception, exception of IT teachers who used elements of online learning prior to the pandemic, have stopped using online learning resources as soon as they got back to face-to-face learning. So so we will have to do a lot of work in that regard. So in terms, sorry for that. How much time do I have left? Sorry.
You have 2 minutes more.
2 minutes. Okay. So key findings. We don't see much challenges in terms of engaging students in LMS, in using the LMS. Once we have teachers on our side, students will follow. They seem to be enthusiastic about online learning and expanding their opportunities. So we, we need to focus on training teachers and engage teachers in using online learning resources. The quality of relevance of the online courses available from the platform are going to be critical, but we need to ensure that teachers feel confident in using the LMS in their instruction and training. So the LMS project, in this project, we are going to concentrate on engaging teachers in active learning and experimentation with using LMS to develop online learning resources. We might not be able to rely on teachers as online course developers for some time, but at least the objective is to change their perceptions about online learning and to give them some confidence to adapt online courses to the needs of their students. So this is, as I mentioned, just the beginning of our study. We are considering conducting a national survey. Some of the presentations today gave, I got interested in that. I think I might find something valuable and useful there from what our colleagues presented. So we will be proceeding with surveys, national surveys, but we believe that we should expect deeper insights from piloting upcoming online teacher training. And if you are interested in the teacher training, my colleagues from Skills Agency are here and they can share their plans on that. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you, Natia. We will have the chance after the presentations to ask the questions, but I invite you in meantime to put your questions in the chat as well. So we will take them into consideration later after the presentation. Now I invite Michel Peters from the Unit of Skills Forecasting and Labor Market Analysis at the Open University of Catalonia to share with us the initiative which is dedicated to providing quality lifelong learning and agile continuous education, to share with us this presentation and to enjoy in that point of the examining this interesting topic.
Perfect. Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, everyone can hear you, I assume.
Great. So first of all, I'm grateful to be here. It's really inspiring to be part of the Skills Network. There's a lot of synergies here. I'm excited to present and introduce our newly formed unit. We're a unit about 5 months old from the Open University of Catalonia. We have a mandate that is very, very similar to the European Training Foundation. So that's why it's quite exciting to be here. We're focused on skills alignment and integrating labor market analysis into the operating culture of our institution for curriculum renewal, for designing flexible lifelong learning pathways for our students in response to the demands in the labor market. A guiding research question which really drives our work is looking at how do we provide quality lifelong learning to meet the needs of individuals and organizations in rapidly changing work environments. We have ambitions of becoming a powerhouse of agile, continuous education, flexible and responsive learning pathways, which respond to demands in labor market, where we can offer information and labor market insights for individuals, as well as faculty and staff to make informed decisions about curriculum development and also meeting professional goals of learners. The problem context, which I'm sure everyone here is quite familiar with, the digital transformation, globalization, the multiple forms of crisis we face in Spain, and I'm sure elsewhere, the rural and urban divide, aging population, etc. Facing that, we have these trends in the labor market expiring and evolving, and new skills and jobs, new ways of working, remote and distance working, which has been mentioned, and those skills that are quite important to be able to succeed in remote, collaborative and virtual work environments, and dynamic and volatile labor markets. In this context, lifelong learning and training is a major part of EU policy agendas, and the need for adults to be in training regularly throughout their lives. In this context, we aim to empower citizens, empower individuals, lifelong learners, to make informed decisions about their career management, how to reach their professional objectives, and that's a part of our mission with UPAL, with the Unit of Skills Alignment, is to empower citizens to be able to keep up and act on these changes. So we're really focused on higher and continuous education institutions. How can we provide insight to citizens and lifelong learners, and how we can also understand the skills demand among established professionals and organizations in the labor market. This is briefly our mandate. Some of our mandate is aimed at forecasting and labor market intelligence, with the goal of anticipating and matching skills in the labor market. We are, for those who don't know, at the Open University of Catalonia, we have 90,000 current students, over 110,000 alumni. We are a recognized higher education institution in Spain and a leading online and digital university, not only in Spain and in the Latin American world, but also throughout Europe. We're focused on skills alignment and skills demand analysis. And part of our mission and mandate is to work in the research and development and innovation space in our university, to integrate new ideas and ways of working to innovate. Anybody? To innovate the support that we can give lifelong learners, students, through career guidance technologies to develop lifelong learning pathways to respond to the skills needs that we are detecting. Our institutional response, part of the mission of this presentation, is to introduce our unit and to talk about our institutional response to the changing nature of work in Spain and throughout Europe and beyond. So this response was coming from the president and vice rector's office, was to create a unit within the university whose mission is to generate scientific knowledge about skills demands across relevant industries and sectors for our faculties. We have 7 faculties in our institution that focus on the intersection of human and social sciences and technology. So we also want to provide knowledge and information to citizens to make informed decisions about their lifelong learning and continuous education plans. And we want to disseminate this knowledge to empower not only our current students and alumni, but also program directors through curriculum renewal, making sure that the programs that we develop are in line with what's demanded in the broader society through rigorous scientific methods. Not going to go too into deep on our team, but we are very lucky and fortunate to have 6 full-time staff members, a multidisciplinary team. We have social scientists and data scientists working together. We use rigorous mixed methods research, from qualitative interviewing and surveying to more quantitative data modeling, scanning the labor market using the software such as Lightcast, which I know is quite commonly used at many European institutions like ETF and CEDEFOP. How we operate, we collect and analyze information. We're very focused on integrating labor market intelligence by scanning the labor market using technologies such as Lightcast, also obviously linking it with other databases such as ESCO, to develop an institutional data space on skills, integrating labor market data with ESCO, and also linking that with our own portfolio of learning opportunities. We're in the middle of a quite ambitious redefinition of our strategy to create a competency-based model where we can map all of our learning opportunities to skills database, which works towards more standardized ways of defining learning opportunities in line with the European learning model for those who have followed those advances at the European level. And the goal of collecting this.
2 more minutes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The goal of collecting this is to offer recommendations for students and established workers so that they can better define their professional trajectories and look for learning opportunities that respond to that need, creating flexible courses and training pathways, and also linked with curriculum and program renewal for our faculty and our professors so that they have clear insights about the demands across different faculties that are relevant for our institution. These are a range of our projects. We create labor market insights reports. One of our very ambitious projects is creating a GPS professional tool, which is a virtual career guidance and recommender system using skills alignment technologies, linked with our educational offer, but also linked with insights from the labor market, very in line with developments and tendencies at the EU level, such as the European learning model. Another important project is called Project TATS, which is offering career orientation and skills forecasting for companies and working professionals. Very briefly, this is sort of the project overview. We do skills demand analysis, which feeds into career orientation, so that workers, established workers, and organizations have an understanding of the skills demand and the changing nature of skills needs in organizations. And the idea is to, through mixed methods, qualitative and mixed methods approaches, to offer coaching sessions, career guidance, which helps individuals define their career strategy and action plan linked with learning opportunities at our institution or other institutions. Thank you very much. Part of our mission here is to find synergies with other organizations, with other research institutes across the Skills Lab network. So if you're interested in collaborating or having a synergy session, we're always open for opportunities to connect and potentially combine and create common projects, EU research projects, etc.
Thank you, Mitchell. I think it is very important taking into consideration that in some partner countries that skills intelligence isn't standing very well. So I think that kind of collaboration would be fruitful for them. Now I call our colleague Ilgar Zarbaliev to share with us his experience using innovative learning pathways to develop data literacy and other important skills. So Ilgar, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I hope everybody sees my screen, right? And hears me well. So hello, everybody. In my 10-minute presentation, I'm just going to talk about digital skills, navigating the evolution and embracing innovation, and I will touch data literacy skill, talking about a little bit Power BI tool, so-called Power BI. So my name is Ilgar Zarbaliev. I'm working remotely on behalf of New Zealand educational platform, so-called Enterprise DNA, as Microsoft Excel workout leader. I'm Microsoft certified trainer, certified educator, innovative educator expert, and hold some other awards from Microsoft. So as we navigate the digital age, it has become increasingly apparent that digital skills encompass the abilities and knowledge required to effectively use and navigate digital technologies. And to address these needs, esteemed institutions like Stanford Research Institute and also Microsoft Corporation has collaborated to develop the 21st century learning design for educators. And these learning paths equip educators with clear and practical ways to foster 21st century skills using digital technologies within their classrooms. So 21st century learning design for educators is covering 6 dimensions, and one of these dimensions which I would like to focus on today is knowledge construction. In our fast-paced world where information flows relentlessly, it's no longer enough for the younger generation to merely memorize and regurgitate facts. And they must, learners, users must develop the skills to shift through the ever expanding amount of information and comprehend its relevance and apply it appropriately. And the ability to actively construct knowledge has become the bedrock of success, and educational institutions play a pivotal role in nurturing this essential skill. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into the concept of construct knowledge. Microsoft revealed an outstanding statistics in 2021, sorry, and it says that in 1 minute in 2021, Instagram users share roughly 700,000 stories. Snapchat users sent 3.4 million snaps. YouTube users upload to the platform roughly 500 hours content. Twitter, roughly 350,000 tweets are sent in a minute, and over 200 million messages are just sent in a minute in 2022. So in this context, data literacy becomes a vital skill to navigate the sea of information effectively. And data literacy just refers to the ability to collect, to extract, to analyze and interpret data in a meaningful way. And educational institutions have a responsibility to cultivate data literacy skills among their students. By integrating data-driven approaches into their teaching methodologies, educators can provide students with real-world data experiences, enabling them to develop their critical thinking abilities and analytical skills. And students learn to navigate data, identify patterns, and draw well-informed conclusions. And within the realm of data literacy, one powerful tool that stands out is Power BI. It's a business intelligence tool and always takes the first place since 2015 by Gartner in a business intelligence area environment. And this tool helps users to collect, analyze, and interpret data in a meaningful way. By incorporating Power BI into the learning journey, educational institutions can provide students with hands-on experience in data analysis and visualization. Students can explore and manipulate the data, can create the meaningful insights, visualizations. And this practical application of data literacy not only enhances their creativity, technical skills, but also fosters creativity, problem-solving skills, and critical thinking. So in conclusion, digital skills have become indispensable in our rapidly evolving world. And as we strive to prepare younger generation for the professional environment of today and also tomorrow, we must prioritize the development of skills that go beyond rote learning skills, rote learning. So knowledge construction within this framework, so-called 21st century learning design for educators, just helps us to give these skills to our students. And also data literacy as a part of knowledge construction equips students with the ability to collect, analyze, interpret the data. So let's embrace the power of data literacy and tools like Power BI to empower our students to navigate the vast of sea of information. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilgar. Now we can go to the questions and answers session. So far, we have one question in our chat, and the question is related to the forecasting. Michel has already provided his response, but I would like to invite him maybe to the rest of our auditorium to provide something additional if he believes it is important to share.
I think, yeah, I mean, having common ways of talking about these processes is very important. I'm sure ETF has worked a great deal in this, the conceptualizations and the language that's used, from skills matching to skills alignment, skill gaps analysis, all of these terminology is relatively new. And I think towards building, part of what we're trying to do as a unit is build a culture of skills and intelligence. And having common understandings for all these different definitions, I think, is incredibly important, something that I'm still working on myself, trying to bring that in. And it only becomes more complicated when you are working in a trilingual environment, which is where the UOC is, Catalan, Spanish, and English, and then working at the European level. Briefly forecasting, I think more predictions on future skills needs, and alignment is a process of more kind of, at least in our approach with individuals, identifying a professional objective, identifying their current skill profile, mapping the gap between where they want to go and their current skill set to learning opportunities. This is what we kind of mean with skills alignment in a higher education training setting for individuals. But of course, then there are many other interpretations, which I'm sure Francesca would like to detail.
Thank you. Any other questions from our colleagues to our presenters?
Slavica, can I just make a comment?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Well, in fact, it's more like a point for general brainstorming, because this question about forecasting, in a way, raises a lot of, subsequent questions, especially when we talk about forecasting in relation to digital skills. We have been working a lot in the past on forecast and foresight methodologies. We have also developed with our agency, such as ILO and CEDEFOP, some guides on how to do that. As you may know, in Europe, in European member states, forecasting has been big in the past few years. However, we very well know that forecasting as a method which is based on quantitative trends comes with many limitations. One is, of course, the availability of past trends and data, the fact that you have data series from the past that you can extrapolate from for the future. And then also the fact that it's very difficult to embed in forecast models shocks, unforeseen shocks. So, for instance, when we work in some countries which are fragile contexts, or which have a very volatile socioeconomic context, it proved to be very difficult to really apply forecast methodologies, because often the projections prove to be wrong or not fully valid. So my reflection here is about digital. As I mentioned in the beginning, the speed of the digital change and how digital skills are changing everywhere in the world is so fast, and it will be so dramatic and so large in the future, that immediately a question comes to my mind: are we really able to forecast such a change, or is it just impossible? And we may not even try to do that. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with a group of network members from the South, and there was a provocative question, which I like very much. Is it really for education to prepare for these skills, or given the speed of change and the huge difference that will happen from now up to 2030, maybe education has to start delivering a totally different type of service to the citizens, and then the specific skills should be learned only on the workplace. I don't know, but I really want to raise this point. Are we still talking about forecasting? Is it possible to forecast the digital skills that we have no idea what will be like in 5 years' time, because the gap will be so vast? Are we bound as a research community at global level to think education in a different way? Are we asked to also start thinking about labor market tools and information which are completely different from the past, because the content is so much changed? I don't have an answer, but I really wanted to share this reflection with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesca. Anyone would like to add a comment? This is extremely attractive, somehow challenging topic for all of us, especially from the supply side. I would just like to share with you very recent information from media that Harvard University has employed the artificial intelligence teacher, official teacher for the course starting from this autumn. So the question for all of us, and including our presenters, is what in the future would be the role of supply side? In fact, how do we have to change? It is evident that digital skills, like we learned before, are not enough anymore. Okay, I can't see anyone with the hand. So I assume that we are going slowly to the end of this session. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to our presenters. And the last session that we would like to conduct with you is related to our network of experts that are dealing with skills in general. So the last session, I would like to ask Francesca and Gabriel for an advice regarding the organization, how we are going to proceed. Are we going to stay all together, or we may divide in separate rooms? Is very informal, which means this is intended to be kind of virtual coffee. So to discuss very relaxed the topics that we hear today, but also your experience and your knowledge about our network of experts who are dealing with skills, skill forecasting, skill supply, skill demand, and your knowledge about this topic, your knowledge about your country situation. So please, Francesca and Gabriel, advise how we proceed.
Thank you, Slavica. And before we proceed, I wanted actually to give the floor to my colleague, Cristiana Burzio, for some conclusion or, some ideas taken from these 2 hours together. Cristiana is our colleague in ETF, expert on human capital development, who is also very successfully organizing these webinars. So thank you very much, Cristiana, for your help. And I will give the floor to you and to Gabriel for the conclusive remark, and then to pass to the networking session.
Thank you very much, Francesca. First of all, I wanted to thank all the participants today for staying over these 2 hours. Let's call it marathon. It was really intense. We had the possibility to listen to many presentations. This was an opportunity since on this occasion, because of the topic, because it's very appealing and it's really interesting to many. We had so many expressions of interest from the members of our network to share with us their experience in research or in activities in the country. We were projects. So we were really wanting to give the opportunity to all to share with us about their own experience.